Hello and welcome to Ham Nation, episode 593 for February 26, 2025. And hello everybody, I'm Josh KI6NAZ. Welcome back to Ham Nation. We got a tight show with the crew. We got them all back together for you tonight. So let's say hi to them now. Hey, Randy, in the upper left square. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, we're doing fine. It's good to be back on the show. It's been a busy January and February. I'm being blinded by somebody below me.
Me too.
He's flashing away or something.
We'll get to this man in a second and understand what the heck is going on with Don. But next to you, Gordo, how are you doing tonight?
All is well here, and we're back from Quartz Fest and Yuma Ham Fests. We've got some great short shots.
And I guess we're going to throw it to Mr. Roboto here in the lower left. Domo arigato there, Don. How you doing?
I'm sure I have no clue of what you're talking about, Josh. Could you please clarify what you're trying to tell me here?
Well, you're
Never mind,
good.
It's Mardi Gras. I was once QRM in the Wolf Hung competition or the ceremony. Can you tell? Yes, next Tuesday it's Mardi Gras, and of course we're having parades every night from now until. So I'm ready.
We were talking before the show that I think Leia and I want to get down to Mardi Gras for sure, but I think everybody pretty much on the show tonight, all the hosts are like, I bet that's a fun time.
It is a fun time. It's
100%.
Yeah.
It really is.
And
there are it's not all debauchery on Bourbon Street. I mean, that's what the news shows you on. Let me get these things off because they're quite frankly very
they're blinding him even. That's how
very
loud
distracting.
they are.
Yeah, it's way more than just what you see on the news on Bourbon Street and everything else. Although, and that's a lot of fun, but there's a whole lot of family friendly activities and parades that you can go to, and it's just full of tradition. And it's a great holiday. And everywhere else, except for New Orleans and some places around Mobile, Alabama, February 3rd is just a Tuesday, or March 3rd.
Is this king cake season as well? They coincide?
Yes.
Is that, oh, okay.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. It's the purple, green, and gold, the colors of Mardi Gras, in the king cake. And the tradition is there's a plastic baby hidden in the king cake somewhere. Used to be a bean back many, many years ago. And the thing is now, the modern tradition is whoever cuts into the baby gets to throw the next party or buy the next king cake. So.
I am a fan of a good king cake. We talked about that
good.
last year. We had a nice viewer of my channel send one, and you even said, Don, like, oh, that's one of the good ones, and it was.
No, I believe it
wasn't
wasn't it Nana Randazzo.
I think so. Yeah.
I got one
the
sitting
big
right in there
box.
right now.
Oh yeah, yeah. Very
Nana's
good.
the best. Yeah.
And
Nice.
Amanda, how are you doing? It's good to see you.
Oh, well, thank you. Now I'm dreaming of king cakes and po' boys.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
And
And barbecued
some good
shrimp.
old gumbo. Yeah. So anyhow, Don, enjoy the celebrations down south and get carried away. This is the time to do it. All right. And let's see. What do we got going on tonight? I don't have anybody to interview tonight, so I'm just going to kind of chill and let everybody else do the work. But I did bring you some awesome hammock canna or what I am it's for tonight, so stay tuned with that. And I get to pay attention to the chat, so I'll be having fun in there tonight. Stick around, we have a great show. So Gordo has been around the world twice and back, I think. So Gordo, take it away.
Well, thanks, Amanda. And yep, I was jealous that the Orlando ham radio activity was so exciting. I wish I could have been there, but as I was in between two other shows out here on the West Coast. But I brought a little bit of those shows to you. So let's go ahead and take a look and see what's happening. This young lady, Heather Anderson, and her husband, Dave Anderson, came to Quartz Fest many years ago as leaders of the operation, and they brought in kids to get involved in ham radio. And when I say they brought in kids, they brought in a whole school. In fact, they've been doing that for about 15 years in Arizona, and they're going to schools that have not seen ham radio, has not seen a lot of telecommunications, and Orlando Hamcation, with a whole bunch of judges, awarded Heather Anderson and Dave Anderson the Ham Ambassador Award. And it was reissued to Heather and David out at the Yuma Ham Fest as well. So they made ham radio happen. And as you can see, they're solar powered several years ago at Quartz Fest. And Quartz Fest this year was a windy success. Wow. As we told you a couple weeks ago, the wind howled, but Quartz Fest survived just great. And then it was on to the Yuma Ham Radio Fest. Well, at Yuma, I was very interested in a lot of the new hams that had just passed their general and were getting on the air with antennas. And they were doing that mobile, as well as several parks on the air and summits on the air. But one of the most interesting high-frequency antennas, certainly for 10 meters, is the telescopic whip. And this one's stainless steel. It's available through the ham stores. And you'll see that many of the ham stores now carry a line of equipment called OPEK. OPEK. And this was the gear that was made overseas for MFJ. Well, now Ham Radio Outlet has multiple pages, and I imagine other dealers may as well, all about OPEK. And some of their gear, like this telescopic whip, is really going to beat the band. Now, the nice thing about a telescopic whip for high frequency is you can pull it out just long enough to make it 8 feet long, and it's perfectly resonant with no coils to eat up any power on 10 meters. Pull it out a little bit longer to 11 feet tall. Now you're perfectly resonant on 15 meters. Oh, you want to do 20 meters as a POTA or mobile? No problem at all. Extend this up more and more and more. And now at 16 feet, you're perfectly resonant on the 20-meter band. And there are a few of these stainless steel telescopic whips that you can pull all the way up to about 30 to 32 feet, and now you're perfectly resonant with no coils, no capacitors, just a big, long radiating stick on the 40-meter band. So you don't need to think about, for mobile, having to drive around with a little antenna like this. Well, it was 6 meters for field day a couple of years ago, and we were putting it on our van, and it looked pretty weird, but it had a good signal. And you don't need a ton of coils and wires and so on unless you enjoy home brewing. And while you may get a chuckle out of this, there's no chuckle when you heard this ham on the air down in the local seashore area. He would back up and connect to a large metal rail for a good ground plane in addition to that vehicle. And he had a signal that would reach into Asia louder than many base stations because he perfectly tuned each one of those counterpoise coils down below at knee level. Many folks say, well, what's a good way to get onto HF? I just passed my general. I want to do parks on the air, summits on the air, and I want to get my mobile on the air. Well, these are the customary ham sticks. And what they are is a stainless steel shaft with a wire winding around each one. And it's then covered by a nice PVC jacket. And then there's a stainless steel on top. And this is called center helical loading. Center helical loading. And if you were to remove a little bit of the black and take a look and see what it is, that's a good size wire. You could probably run a couple 100 watts. That wire is coated. It's not going to arc over unless you're running a kilowatt. But the ham sticks are inexpensive. They're about $25 a piece, and they come perfectly tuned once you get a handle on tuning the antenna. And you do that by varying the length of the whip that is stainless steel. Now, a word of caution, there are many different varieties of these typical ham sticks. Some of them, as they terminate the coil winding on the helical resonator, they run that winding through the center. So if you drop that stainless steel whip down, and it's stuck, and I need a little bit shorter, and you jam it down, now you're off the air with that antenna because you break the wire in the center. So be very, very cautious. For 75 meters, almost everyone to operate in the voice portion of the band at 75 meters will have to probably take a hacksaw and on mobile whip, cut off about 1 foot, 12 inches, and then sand off the end and then slide it in, and then you're ready to go. But this is how the ham sticks are tuned, and that is tuning of the stainless steel whip on top of the helical loaded shaft. Well, why don't we have like a coil at the base of the antenna and have that coil manufactured so a different coil would work for 10, 15, 20, or 40? Well, like a CB antenna on 11 meters, this is the Shakespeare version on the 10-meter band, one can do that. You can get away with that if you have a good long top whip on top of it. But remember, current is at maximum on a quarter wave whip right there at the feed point. So that coil seeing maximum current is going to get a little bit warm, and that's going to eat up some of that RF you would like to get up into the stainless steel whip. So that's why we don't use base loading much for the high frequency bands, because current is maximum, and those little windings in there don't like a lot of current going through them, and they develop resistance and they heat up. Same thing for here. If that coil were mid-shaft, it would be much more efficient. This is like similar to the Outbacker where you'd tap in there. But it gets mighty warm if you're running 100 watts. And we've seen some good contacts on these, but they're not going to work the real DX that a much taller whip would do. Here's another version that was imitating the very popular Australian Outbacker antenna. It was like a miniature Outbacker. It was okay, but again, that all the windings are down there close to the base where current is maximum. Here's a real Outbacker, and if you can ever find one at a upcoming Dayton Hamvention, or next time you go and do the Orlando Hamcation next fall, this is a real kicker. This one is a 3-piece, so you can pack it in a suitcase, and it's got a stainless steel whip on top, and the Outbacker is quite an efficient high-frequency antenna, and you change bands by changing the tap point. If you can find an Outbacker for like 100 to 150 bucks, that's going to be a real good investment. Here it is on Susie's car, and it'll generally work any station that you hear. But yes, you do have to stop the car when you change bands because you got to go back there and tap into the correct band. And the Outbackers have a nice little Corona ball at the top. And in real wet weather on the lower bands, this is good. If you're parking around a lot of wet leaves and stuff, it'll tend to arc over unless you had that Corona ball there. So for eye safety, yeah, very important. But for RF safety, remember on a quarter wave antenna, mobile antenna, or a POTA quarter wave with a ground plane below it, current is maximum down at the base, minimum at the tip. Guess what is maximum at the tip? Voltage. You bet. That's the business end. So when you have voltage that several hundred, sometimes even 1,000 volts, it could actually arc over on the lower bands. Here's a very popular high Q antenna from Charlie Gaines. Charlie is no longer making the antennas, and I do not know his status, but boy, he really knew how to develop a coil that would be placed halfway up the shaft with an internal tuning mechanism. There you can actually see through there, and through either a motor or through a manual adjustment, as we would run that up and down, you're actually providing the RF to travel up through the center of that rod and then contact the outside coil. Actually, it's inside a plastic radome. Contact that coil, and then the coil acts as the loading up to the top, and then there's the whip on top of that. Anytime that you can increase the size of the coil, you're going to be able to reduce I²R losses. You're also going to have a much more solid signal by picking up at least an S unit from going to a 2-inch coil to maybe a 3 or a 4-inch coil, but that pickup of an S unit's only going to occur on probably 40 or 75. On 10, 15, or 20, let me tell you, my big monster antenna like this with all sorts of appendages on top, it was really not that much stronger at Quartz Fest and Yuma on our comm van than a plain old ham stick at $25. But it's on the lower bands, down on 40 and 75. Now, to resolve the inductive reactance of the coil, we need to tune the coil to become equal to the capacitive reactance of the area above the coil, that is the shaft. And you see a bird cage, what the heck is that? And then the big tall whip on that, that is called a capacity hat. And these top hats can take all sorts of different shapes. You can make them out of metal lampshades. You can make them out of hula, whatever you want to do. But the whole idea is have more resonating area X sub C on the top of the antenna, and that will decrease the number of turns of inductive reactance necessary for the coil. And this tuned inductive capacitance equal capacitive reactance on a quarter wave antenna creates resonance where you're going to get maximum voltage on the tip whip. This is a good installation we saw on one mobile unit. I'd like to see that coil up a little bit higher because everything is what we call cold below the coil. In other words, if someone was walking by there and they accidentally touched that area below the coil, probably wouldn't ring their bell. But if they touch the whip on the top part of the coil, yep, they're definitely going to feel a sensation like ouch. Antennas that tune, watching the SWR, many times they work out fairly well, but many folks will put little marks on the antenna you can sort of make out here, and in their rear view mirror, hopefully they're not driving, they're watching where the motorized unit goes up and down to have complete resonance. And you can also tell resonance on most of these motor antennas, especially on 40 and 20, when you're listening to background noise and it's not real strong, and then all of a sudden it gets strong and then it gets weak again. You just passed the resonant point. So that's where the noise is maximum, and that's where you're going to have low SWR. Here are the Yaesu antennas, and I just noticed that out there at Yuma and Quartz Fest, Yaesu now makes the ATAS antenna manually tuned as well. So that would be great for POTA operation. And this one's a little bit on the low side. I'd like to see it a little bit higher to get that radiation from the tip whip up in the clear. This is better yet. He's got some good elevation here. And you may think that that metal rack on the top of the vehicle is going to detune it. It might a little bit, but still he's going to have a good signal because he's got it off of the street level. I love this. This was at, I think, Quartz Fest, and this ham really had a great signal on one band at a time. He had to take it down, of course, to tap into the next band. But talk about elevating your feed point. Yep, he sure did. And he was one of the loudest signals on 40. Oh, you don't want to go out there and do adjustment on one band to another to another? Well, here's a tri-band, you may want to say, antenna. These are the Hustler resonators, and they go on that about 58-inch Hustler mast, and they've got a little metal doodad that allows for 3 of the 3H24 threaded coils to be attached. And believe it or not, when you're on one band like 40, it looks like 40, 20, and 15, it really, the resonance is created by the coil that is precisely tuned by Hustler and then the tip whip. So you may find that you have good results and the coils are not horribly expensive. And look at this. I love it. You could wind your own coils for the different bands. And, of course, the more turns, the lower the frequency that resonance will occur. And he's got some whips on the top side there. And The longer you can make the whip, the less turns of the coil you're going to need for resonance. So if you've got an antenna with a coil that is adjustable, by golly, get a longer and longer whip, maybe add a capacity hat, and you'll be playing. There's been some helical loaded, continuously helical loaded. Annixter Mark made them years ago, and this was a popular antenna many years ago, but I've not seen one lately, and they had little marks on there where you could actually do fine tuning of the antenna. Now, many of the antennas will come with a 3/8 24 thread, but maybe you've got a antenna mount that is not going to accept that. It's looking for a PL259 or something like this. So this would go on an L bracket. Most important, if you get this assembly here, make a note that that copper-colored, it's probably brass, center that your whip is going to screw into, the base of the whip. It's going to keep from shorting out because of that white washer. Don't lose the white washer. It's getting a good ground from the coax cable to the chassis ground on that aluminum mount. But a big, huge, long whip will pull that brass right out of the SO239 on the bottom. It's just pressed in there. It's not welded. It's not glued. It's just jammed in there professionally, but I've lost a big outbacker. Unfortunately, went under a tree. I knew the outbacker would take it, but I didn't realize it would take that brass and yank it right out of the bottom there. So be very careful. That's a weak point on big, tall antennas. Yes, I have a whole bunch. So if ever you lose the little washer there with a centering device on it, I'll be happy to help you out. And pickup trucks, many times they will embed a good tunable antenna on the inside. And believe it or not, below the coil, antennas are not real fussy about any other metals near them. I was a little worried about this, but by golly, he had a very low SWR. Here's another shot of one of those L brackets with a 3/8 24 going into that brass connector. So watch that brass connector doesn't get yanked out. So I encourage all of you with a tech license to try 10 meters to get started. 28.3 to 28.5 is your territory for single sideband on 10 meters. And below 28.3 is the digital portion of the band and CW. So give 10 meters as a technician class operator a try. And when you pass the tech test, don't even think about general. Don't even think about extra. When you pass the tech test, get on the air. 2 meters and 440, that's easy. Try 10 meters, try 6 meters, and then you're going to get a real feel for the type of operators that you're going to meet on HF via Skywaves. And you're going to find that they're very knowledgeable, most of them, and they'll give you a warm welcome. But if you go from tech to general to extra and you've not even been on the air, hey, I got my extra and I've never been on the air, and somebody asks you, would you mind getting me a PL259 out of my box here? And they go, what's that? Then you know that you're an extra light, real light. So before anybody catches you that you passed the test but have no clue, start operating on 10 meters and the other bands as a technician and jump in there, get general, play everything there is on general, and you're going to hear about a lot of the modes tonight, and then ultimately go for extra. So that's my story, and in 2 weeks I'll be back to talk a little bit more about mobile antenna matching, especially that 40 microhenry coil that some antennas need at the base. But we'll wait for a couple weeks before that. So everybody have a great week. I've got to go to an Aries meeting tonight, so I'm out of here. 73, Amanda, may I turn it back over to you?
You certainly can. I did have one quick question.
Sure.
You showed that tri-band Hustler. Can you be mobile with that? Can you be driving down the road? Is it pretty sturdy?
On the Hustler with a single coil, yeah, it's sturdy. However, magnetic mount with the 3 coils up there, I would be very cautious about driving mobile. However, if you've got a pickup truck or a long bed vehicle and it's on the rear, little monofilament is what I do on the van if I'm going to go with that big, huge coil that we've
Sure.
shown here.
One
And that,
other question about that was you said that it came pre-tuned. So do you give them the specs when you buy that Hustler, do you think? Of
Um,
where you would want it on the band tuned?
the Hustler coils are pre-tuned, but again, it's that tip whip that's going to require
Okay.
an SWR meter. So pre-tuned coils to get you in the area and adjustment of the tip whip to put you right on frequency.
So it takes a little bit of testing equipment to get it just right for you. Okay,
Correct.
thanks, Gordo. Will you enjoy your meeting tonight? And thanks for being here.
Okay, Amanda.
And I think we'll send it to ICOM.
Combining cutting-edge technology, unmatched reliability, and user-friendly design, ICOM's amateur radios are the gold standard for ham radio enthusiasts. Whether you're chasing DX, experimenting with digital modes, or leading a local net, ICOM radios deliver crystal clear performance and seamless connectivity. With a legacy of innovation and commitment to quality, ICOM continues to set the benchmark for amateur radio excellence, making them the trusted choice for operators worldwide. Introducing ICOM's IC7760, the pinnacle of base station excellence for amateur radio enthusiasts. Designed to deliver unmatched performance, the IC7760 features state-of-the-art technology, exceptional RF clarity, and an intuitive interface, all housed in a sleek and durable design. The base station features a separate remote control head and RF deck, providing excellent flexibility for installation. Place the RF deck closer to the antenna feed point, freeing up space on your desk. You can also connect the control head to the RF deck through your home network, enabling remote operation from anywhere in your home without need for a PC. Pair the IC7760 with a powerful ICPW2 linear amplifier and take your contesting experience to the next level. The ICPW2 seamlessly integrates with the IC7760, delivering a massive power boost and enabling enhanced long-distance communications with DPD, digital pre-distortion, and a built-in 2x6 automatic antenna selector for SO2R single operator 2 radios. Together, they define what's possible in amateur radio, setting a new standard for global connectivity and reliability. For more information about all of ICOM's great amateur radios, visit icomamerica.com/amateur.
And a huge thank you to ICOM for sponsoring Ham Nation here on the Ham Radio Crash Course. We very much appreciate all the support. Every time we go live, ICOM gives away 3 swag packs. They have a t-shirt and pens, tablets, and usually a drawstring bag to keep it all together. Now, we pick the winners, sure, but every one of those 3 winners goes into a list that builds across the year, and every month, ICOM gives away a radio. So make sure you click Enter Now. The link is in the video description. It's like the first link you can go to Ham Nation. I think it's hamnation.icomamerica.com. Anyway, go join, give your call sign, your email, a little bit of information, and you would be entered to win. So this week, we're going to give away 3 swag packs. No radio. We gave away one last show. So this week, it is James R., KJ5JUL, Alan V., KE2, DBC, and Dustin S., KD7, TDA. So congratulations. You not only get a swag pack, but you're entered to win. What are we giving away? Let's see. Where are we going? I know how the months work. Next month, it's the ICT-10, so look forward to that pretty soon. Now, also, I got a bit of a shout-out here. We are about full for the 2025 Ham Radio Crash Course Silverwood Lake Campout. So this will be our 2nd annual to Silverwood Lake, but our 3rd or 4th annual doing a camping trip once a year. We always go to a POTA location that has soda summits adjacent to it, and we found Silverwood Lake. It's a beautiful spot. My wife uploaded some pictures. You can see it's fishing. We do pontoon boats. This is a shot of the group campsite where we do cooking and catering of food. It is a POTA location, so all weekend long, it is POTA active, as well as a bunch of little soda summit activations that you can get involved in as well. We do a custom T-shirt that you can only get if you come out, and a special raffle that I run on the Saturday night after my live stream that I host from the campout. So if you want any information, there's a link for that in the show notes as well. At least I think so. But I will drop it into the chat right now so you guys can check it out. But we're almost at our max. We only do about 40 people every year just because it starts getting a little crazy. So that's about where we're at. So make sure to go check that out. And again, huge thanks to ICOM. And make sure you guys go enter the giveaway to potentially get a swag pack or a radio. Dawn, I don't know what you're looking like now, but I'm ready. Let's check him out. Oh, he's got that king cake.
Oh my
Man.
gosh, I'm so jealous now.
Oh,
You got the baby?
say hello to my little friend. All right, well, I got a slice of Nana Randazzo's here. So while I consume, I don't think I can get all this done in like the 7 minutes or so that we've got. But let's check in with the Amateur Radio Newsline and Dr. T, and go on, chat amongst yourselves. From Amateur Radio Newsline Report, number 2468, this is Ham Nation Headlines for Wednesday, February 26, 2025. As Newsline went to production, the amateur radio developer and manufacturer Rig Expert reported the destruction of its administrative offices at its headquarters in Ukraine. Newsline anchor Skeeter Nash, N5ASH, picks up the story.
The company said on its website and in social media posts that the offices were struck by a Russian ballistic missile. Rig Expert said that all its personnel were safe, production remained unaffected, and that its customer support operations will continue. The company issued a statement on Wednesday, February 12th, saying, quote, "Even though this is a difficult situation, the Rig Expert team is committed to restoring operations as soon as possible to continue providing our great products to you. We are working tirelessly to minimize delays and fulfill our commitments," end quote.
We'll have more as this story develops. The U.S. Congress has also returned to considering a measure giving hams the right to install antennas that, until now, had been banned or restricted by homeowners associations.
A proposed law has been reintroduced in Washington, D.C. to restrict the power that the homeowners associations, or HOAs, have to prevent ham radio operators from installing antennas outside their residences. This is the latest version of the Amateur Radio Emergency Preparedness Act, which has been considered by U.S. lawmakers over the past several years without taking any action. The measure prohibits HOAs from writing rules that ban amateur radio antennas, which are recognized as part of an essential disaster communication system for public safety. The act also provides hams with the means of resolving disputes that arise in connection with their antennas. The sponsors are U.S. Senators Roger Wicker, a Mississippi Republican, and Richard Blumenthal, a Connecticut Democrat. Opponents of the measure in previous years have raised concerns that large antennas spoil the aesthetics of a community. Many of the measure's supporters have countered that ham radio antennas should be given the same consideration as satellite dishes and TV antennas, which many HOAs permit. This is Paul Brown, WD9GCO.
Alabama AM radio station WJLX, which reported the mysterious theft of its broadcast tower and destruction of its transmitter 1 year ago, has gone back on the air on its assigned frequency of 1240 AM. Once again, here's Skeeter Nash, N5ASH.
According to a story on the Radio World website, the station's signal was restored quickly before the one-year expiration date of the Special Temporary Authority the FCC granted it after the incident was reported. The station has come under different management following the subsequent death of Brett Elmore, the general manager who had reported the theft and vandalism. The station has been back on the air on AM since the 1st of February, using a temporary setup transmitting 100 watts. A 195-foot tower is expected to be installed soon. The station also has a new 1-kilowatt transmitter. It can also be heard via an iHeartMedia translator on FM and will soon be taking over FM operations at 90.1 megahertz. The case of the missing transmitter and 200-foot tower has not been solved.
And that's all from the Amateur Radio Newsline, your independent source for amateur radio news since 1976 at arnewsline.org. With Skeeter Nash, N5ASH, Paul Brown, WD9GCO, Karen Eve Murray, KD2GUT at the news desk in New York, and our news team across the globe, I'm Don Wilbanks, AE5DW. 7-3, we'll see you next time here on Ham Nation. And now here's the solar update from Dr. Tamitha Skov, WX6SWW.
Space weather this week is picking up in a big way. As we take a look at our Earth-facing disk, you can see there are a lot of active regions in Earth view, and there's been a lot of solar storm launches too, including this filament. You can see it whoosh right there. And right here, pow! That was actually an Earth-directed solar storm launch. And believe it or not, that storm has actually hit Earth. But most of the solar storms just haven't been all that impactful. They've been moving too slow, or they've been just these little wispy things. So we really haven't had much of notice of anything. Maybe a little bit of aurora at high latitudes, but nothing too dramatic. In fact, it's been pretty quiet overall, except starting around the 21st, you can see this filament right here. Watch it lift off. Right there, whoosh! That was a very dramatic eruption, and it was because this filament channel is really kind of buttonholed between old region 3989 and new region 4001. You can see it right here. And this big filament launch kind of like set the stage for what started to come after that. In fact, as we continue watching, you can see region 4000 kind of gurgling. We're going to be paying close attention to it. And region 4001 continues to fire off big stuff. In fact, just a day or so later, you can see it pop a really big solar flare, pow, right there. And then one more, we get an X2 class flare late on the 23rd, right about here, bam, right there. That was a massive solar flare, and believe it or not, we did get an R3 level radio blackout, but because this region was occulted, meaning it's mainly on the sun's far side now, the flare didn't last all that long, but the radio blackout was strong, and that's because we actually had a radio burst that had a lot of energy, right around 8 gigahertz, and even energy up to 18 gigahertz. So my goodness, even Starlink probably noticed that one in terms of its reception. So this radio blackout is just the beginning. As we continue looking at region 4000 here, it actually early on the 24th, you'll watch this whole area between these two evacuate, and there's this little filament right in here that lets off. You'll see it right about now. 1, 2, 3, whoosh, there it goes. Now, this solar storm is Earth directed, just kind of barely. But the problem is in coronagraphs, we had a hard time seeing it, and I'll back up and show you why. Because if you notice, right about the same time that this goes off, we also have a little bit of evacuation back here. Ready? You can see it kind of just whoosh right there, a little bit of evacuation. Believe it or not, that's that same filament channel lifting off yet again. And we'll see that in the stereo observations that I'll show you in a minute. So we know that that's what it is. Sadly, this eruption here camouflaged the Earth-directed solar storm, which I'll also show in a sec. And that makes it really, really tough for forecasters to be able to model it and know exactly when it's going to hit Earth. But it looks like it's going to be maybe late on the 26th, probably into the 27th by the time we see it. Meanwhile, we're also going to get some fast solar wind in about a week from this set of coronal holes here. That should give us yet another chance for aurora, possibly down to mid-latitudes, especially if some of these other solar storms fizzle out as they have as of late. And then on the 24th, late on the 24th, as I move this a little bit further, you can watch it right here. Bam! Right there. That was yet another big solar storm launch on the sun's far side. So activity is picking up quite a bit. In fact, this one came with a strong radiation storm. We're now sitting at S1 levels. So you frequent flyers, you might want to pay attention to those ICAO advisories. And likely we're going to continue to stay at the S1 level for at least another 24 hours before things begin to calm down. And now switching to our far side of the sun, we're finally back to using stereo A imagery because stereo A is peeking around the corner of the west limb just a little bit so that we can see what's going on the far side. So a lot of these active regions do look familiar because they are also on the sun's front side, but you can see down here in stereo's view how far stereo is away from Earth. So one of the reasons why I wanted to show this to you was so that you could get an idea of this filament channel. Look at this monster. This is what I'm talking about. Region 3989 is on one end of this filament channel and 4001 is on the other end. And boy, it just causes this filament channel to fill up and fire and fill up and fire again and again. You'll see it multiple times going off. So that was the first eruption back on the 21st, but then you'll see it fill up once again and it will fire yet again. And with that one, you'll actually see it waits till it gets to the very end here. It also happens right when this one launches. So we had another filament eruption right there. Hopefully you could see that. And as I take a look now at the coronagraphs, we had this one on the very edge. It's going to be basically a west limb shot. And then region 4000, we had all that material in here get evacuated. But watch this. Look, what do you see? You just see a big west limb blast going off. But if you look really closely, you can actually see just a little bit of something right here. It's a little bit clearer in stereo's view. Well, not really. It's a little bit clearer in stereo's view, but not really. And so the problem that we have is that it's very difficult to model this kind of thing because we've got one solar storm that's camouflaged by the other. So the Earth-directed solar storm is coming. It looks like it'll probably still be a glancing blow, and I'll give you more details on that region, along with other things going on the sun's far side when I give you my full forecast coming soon. For more details on this week's space weather, including how those solar storms could affect you, come check out my channel or see me at spaceweatherwoman.com.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. T, and thanks also to the Newsline folks for another great report. Of course, you can follow Dr. T on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, at Tamitha Skov. Same thing on YouTube is Tamitha Skov, and then, of course, spaceweatherwoman.com. And look, perfect timing is my last bite of king cake. One nice byproduct of the king cake makes your fingers really delicious. Okay.
Yum, yum, yum.
Okay, my little friend, say bye-bye. Let's move over to the voice of reason now, Randy, K7AGE.
Oh, well, he's well fed, I guess. So,
Oh, yeah.
well, so I'm going to talk here a little bit and show you some slides from my time at Quartz Fest. And I just recently got back from Fairbanks, Alaska, and did a couple ham radio things up there. So let me share my screen here. And if that's working. Okay, so I'm just going to talk about our little part of Quartz Fest here. Get on this monitor anyway. So here's my trailer, and I got a lot more solar this year. So I don't know if does the mouse show up when I do this? Okay. So so in the past, I've just had these two 100-watt fold-open Renogy panels to charge the trailer battery. And this year I bought one of these EcoFlow Delta 2 Max, great big 2-kilowatt battery boxes. And I have their solar panels. So each one of these is 220. So I have 440 watts of solar to charge up that big battery. And this is the solar controller inside the Renogy here. And I'm getting about 10.5 amps to charge the trailer battery. These I kind of move around during the day. These are kind of too large to keep moving around. So, but it worked really good. So here's the EcoFlow Delta 2 Max. Like I said, it's a 2-kilowatt battery system in there. It's got a 2400 watt AC inverter. It can take a lot of solar. It has 2 connectors that can take up to 16 volts at 15 amps. So that works. I don't think that's right. I think it's up to 60 volts. Yeah, up at 15 amps, because I wired those 2 panels in series to cut down on the current going through the cable. It's got lots of USB connectors, got a 12-volt socket, although this is really not optimum for ham stuff, because the 12-volt output is from another a converter, and it's limited to 10 amps. I think the battery in here is like a 48 or 52-volt battery, but it's got a nice display, shows you what's going on, and it has an app you can run on your phone. It makes a Bluetooth or Wi-Fi connection, I believe. And in the morning, I could make my coffee with my Keurig here. It would show I would be drawing, there it is, 1,478 watts. Of course, it's only for a minute or so. So that was really handy for that. So this became kind of a distribution power box inside the trailer. Another thing that happened for the first time, I think, at Quartz Fest, was we had several Mestastic forums. So one forum would be, the introduction and what it is and all that. Then they had other meetups where they would configure the user's Mestastic device. So I got mine going and had a little trouble with my second one. Rachel had a little silver dome tent set up, and she was helping to get people going too. And I think the maximum number of nodes we had out there was close to 50 at one time. And you could tell when the sessions were happening, when they were doing the configurations, because about every 15 minutes you see another node appear on the in the network here. So it was fun. We did a lot of chatting, what the weather is, who's going to what presentation next, and this type of thing. I'm looking forward to playing around with this at Dayton. Hopefully Josh may talk about that in a little bit. But this is about a $35 device, and you use your phone for the user interface. There's no GPS in here. I just have a little lithium battery taped on the back of this case, so it's pretty basic. Of course, every night we had a campfire in our group, and it got cold out there as well as windy. So a couple nights we ended up people getting their dinner and going back to their own RV or whatever to be warm. RV maintenance, well, you're always in doing that out there. Natalie joined us for the first time, I think, 4 years ago. She hasn't been there for the last 2 years, but she made it out this year. So Natalie NW6S, she's Glam Ham on TikTok. Still has quite a following. So here she is, I don't know, checking her tire with a little air compressor. Of course, our gang is there to give her moral support and help her out. So it was a lot of fun having her join us again. She bought this used RV and just done a lot of rebuilding on it. She had a lot of power problems. Her generator wouldn't start in the morning and things. So we'd go over and poke at that. And her batteries were like dead every morning. So she ended up going down to Discount Solar, which is a big operation there in Quartzsite, and got lithium batteries installed in her coach, a whole new power center so that it was charging properly, a solar controller, a connector on the outside to plug in solar panels, and they took care of her and got her all tuned up with lots of power. So she was really happy about that. Starlinks are everywhere now. Our group of about 8. Last year, there was 1 Starlink in our group. This year, there was 4. So I now have a Starlink. This is a mini. This is another mini. This is another mini over here. So this, it's kind of hard to tell how large it is actually, but it's about the size of a laptop computer. And they were $600. I bought mine before Christmas. A couple of days later, they had a Black Friday sale at $450, and I contacted them, and they gave me a $150 service credit. So they basically knocked the price down. And what's nice about these, you can pause the service. So it's $50 a month for 50 gig, but you can pause it, so it doesn't cost you anything until you take it out again. And you can do Wi-Fi phone calling through this. I was on my way home. I was stopped for lunch with the trailer along the side of the road out in the middle of nowhere with no cell phone connectivity. I set this thing in the door of my trailer and plugged a battery into it, and the thing came up and locked. The next thing I know, my phone's ringing. My wife was calling me, and she says, "I haven't seen you on APRS in a while, so you okay?" So it's really kind of a nice emergency backup data system. Of course, you get home and all this stuff you drag out there, you then got to unpack and put away. So generator, batteries, solar panels, and tables, and just it goes on, including some food. About a week and a half ago, we were up in, my wife and I were up in Alaska at Fairbanks, and I've known John AL7ID for many years. We end up seeing him at Seaside, Pacific Con, and Dayton, and hanging out together. And he's always shown me photos of this new ham shack building that he built. I keep telling him, you should do a presentation. Well, I made a video about this, and it's on my YouTube channel. So I'm just going to go through some of the highlights here, because it's a little different building a ham shack up in at Fairbanks. So here's John, and behind here is his ham shack. It's separate from the house. He and his wife shared a second bedroom in the house for all their hobby stuff, and it just got to be too crowded and everything. So about 3-4 years ago, he built this building. It's 16 by 24, and it's on a heated slab. So he's done a lot of real nice work on it. Out away from the shack is I think it's an 80-foot tall tower, Roan 45, and this is a high gain TH11DX HF beam. That's a big antenna. At the very top is a 3-element 6-meter antenna, I believe. And then he has, I think, a VHF and a 220 vertical side mounted on the tower. There's wire dipoles for the 40 and 80 running around. This is a tower right at the corner of his ham shack for his satellite antennas. It's kind of hard to tell what's happening here because of the perspective, but he had an ice storm and the ice built up on the VHF antenna and it slipped on the clamp. And he's been after a guy with a bucket truck for a couple of weeks to come out so they can get up there, loosen up the clamp, get it pointed the same as the UHF antenna, and then he's going to pin it so it won't do that again. And he's got the Yaesu rotors for azimuth and elevation. I think this is a 6 and a 10 meter FM vertical there as well. You get all these antennas, and he sure has them protected. He's got these 2 big grounding panels mounted on the outside of the building. Everything is labeled. He uses color coding for the coaxes, 2 3-inch conduits going into the building. These look like RJ45 protectors. These types of protectors you can use on your rotor cables. And
Randy, can I comment on this photo? This is beautiful.
This is beautiful.
Oh my gosh.
This is big bucks here.
Oh my, I'm just wow. I'm fan basing so hard. And then the whole copper sheet at the back of it is just wow.
Yeah, it's nice. And this is the AC service for the building here. So everything is bonded and grounded together. So yeah. He also has one of these boxes out at the base of the 80-foot tower. So, yeah.
Now, so did you ask him about like if he has freezing problems? We saw his tower iced over. Like, does his rotor freeze and stuff? Or does he have like heat on it? I'm just asking like I know nothing about Alaska.
One of the things you see up there is just about every vehicle has an AC plug hanging out the front.
Sure.
And in the hotel parking lots, the airport, and all sorts of places, Walmart, they have posts sticking out of the ground that you can plug in. So at night, we would plug in the car, and it has typically a battery heater, engine block heater, maybe a transmission heater or something. So what he did here on the Yaesu rotor, he used the plates that they use to heat batteries, and he mounted it to the outside of the case. And he has an extension cord running down.
Smart thinking.
And you can plug it in. He has a second one of these rotors, and he wants to open that up and change out the grease and put a low temperature grease in there because it's cold there. I don't think we saw above -10 for the whole 10 days that we were up there.
Wow.
That's a little brutal.
Yeah. So speaking of cold, one of the probably most other important things in the ham shack is the heating system. So he talks about in the video, they dug the hole for the foundation in May, and he says that's really early to do dirt work in Fairbanks. They ran into frozen ground 3 feet down, so he had to end up digging down 5 feet and backfilling it. And, they have a slab, and it sits on styrofoam and has styrofoam blocks around the edge of it, and it's got in-floor heat. And so here's the whole system. Here's the circulating pump. This is a 1500 watt AC hot water heater.
Mm-hmm.
And that's enough enough that's being piped through here. It's a glycol solution, so it won't freeze, and it can keep the building warm even when it's minus 40 out. And he had an infrared thermometer thing. He pointed it at the floor, and it was 80 degrees. So you go in there, you take your boots off, and your feet are nice and warm.
Wow.
Nice.
Now you put this little fan here. Here's the thermostat. And what was happening was that the thermostat was picking up the heat from all this stuff and turning off too early. So he put this little fan here to circulate some air, and it made it much more even.
That's really
Is he
funny.
like an electrician by trade, an electrician and plumber by trade, or what?
No, he was a broadcast guy. In fact, he worked for iHeart Radio. He was maintenance of a lot of the stations up there.
Oh.
And he worked for the he did IT for the city, and one of his projects he was showing me on, he redid the whole 911 center, built new consoles and moved it and all that stuff. So he's very talented. I don't have any pictures of his electrical conduit. He did all the AC wiring and all the conduit bending. He did himself in here in his garage and other places around his property. He's really
That
good
is
at
definitely
it.
the work of an engineer. You can
It
tell.
100%.
Oh, he's got temperature gauges on each loop, going down and, that type of thing. So, yeah.
Did it right.
Yeah. So he has two benches in there. So this is the workbench. Here he's, fixing some type of PC, doing something on it. And over to the right behind him, if you watch the video, you see a lot more of this. He's got his tools and parts and stuff. But he built the benches and used these threaded rods so he can have adjustable shelving. And the legs of the bench are like 2-inch threaded rods. So you can set the height of this bench higher than the operating bench for the radios. This is the space between the two benches. So you may laugh, but this is one of the handiest things you could be able to do to get to the back of your radios.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. So
Absolutely.
That's really ingenious too. Yep.
yeah.
So
So
the wall looks real nice until you need to get back there behind it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and here's the two conduits coming in from outside. This is the AC breaker panel. And then he has copper pipe running underneath this ledge here. And you can see all the braids. It runs up to all the radios and all the devices and things. So,
Very
Common ground point. Yeah.
yeah, you put these struts in here to stabilize the two benches, make them a little less rocky and things. But
Keep them from imploding on each other.
yeah. So,
all of a sudden.
so, he's got a cable tray here, so it's kind of managed. I said, well, there's always one that's too short, and here he's got something going over to the workbench, so makes it really handy when you want to work on stuff.
It certainly does, and it gives you like basically twice the room.
Yeah. So this
this
is the
picture would
operating.
be me just giving up at this point. That's my. Sorry, done. Check, please.
So this is the operating position. He has a Kenwood. I think that's like a 570. He's got a couple antenna tuners for the wires, the rotor for the big tower. What you don't see off to the right is his IC 9700 satellite rotor controller and the rotor controller itself. And he's done a lot of satellite stuff. When Green Cube was operational, he said he probably made 2,000 contacts
Oh, good for
through
him.
Green
Very nice.
Cube. And that satellite was in a real polar type orbit. So I asked him, where all could you work? And he says, well, let me tell you where I couldn't. And it was like Antarctica, the southern part of Africa, and the southern part of India and places. So he pretty much worked the world through Green Cube. He does a lot of,
Wow.
I think, RS4, 44 and other things. So that was kind of neat.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
These tabletops are butcher block. You got it at Home Depot.
I was just
Very
going to
nice.
ask you what that is because I'm jealous and I'm thinking of redoing my operating position, so I might have
Yeah.
to start
Yeah, that's
considering the butcher
gorgeous.
block. I love it. Came out great.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, you can see these threaded rods with the nuts and washers,
Mhm.
so you can
So are
set that.
is that black pipe? It looks like black pipe that he cut to size and then threaded.
I don't know if he got it threaded. He may have painted this stuff. I don't know,
Okay.
but it looks really nice. And it's strong and sturdy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Bet.
It does look nice. Yep.
Okay, if he's got these placemats, his wife has a big weaving room. It's off the back of the
I
two-car
get it.
garage.
I get it. I
You
see
got
it.
it. You got it. And she's got like 4 looms in there. It's just beautiful. All this wood and all this weaving going on. So, Josh, what is this saying?
AL7ID.
Yep. That's his call
Very
sign.
cool.
Oh, neat.
And his wife looked up what the, dot and character spacing
I love
was.
it.
So, so he's
That's
got
gorgeous.
4 of these as placemats. So,
She could market those to other
Oh,
hams.
yeah.
I'll tell you.
Oh, yeah.
I'd want one.
yeah.
Get her an Etsy store
Oops.
going on.
Yeah. So John sees a lot of the northern lights.
I bet.
Wow.
And in my video, I have his video from December 31st, 2024, which he says was probably one of the best displays he's ever seen. So we talked a lot in the video about how it affects the radio. And it gets really, warbly sounding with the digital modes. It smears out the tone so it won't decode. He talks about the propagation being asymmetrical because it'll come in and follow the magnetic field lines down.
Right.
So you can hear things, but his signal going out does not necessarily take that same path. So he can hear
Oh.
stations, but he can't work them quite often.
That's
Wild.
weird.
Yeah. And he said with Green Cube, with the 9700, he could, it's a full duplex radio, so he could see his signal going through the satellite. So you'd see the nice, packet digital lines going up nice and straight, but the ones coming out would be all smeared apart. Looked like somebody just had turned the transmitter audio gain all the way up, and people would
Wow.
have trouble decoding that. So, yeah.
That's fascinating.
Yeah, he
Beautiful.
says when the aurora is good, the radio's bad. So
Well, that's interesting, but that's
Yeah.
I guess that's the science of it for you. But
Yeah.
I mean,
yep. So this
good
is
with the
his
bad
house.
on it.
This is his house here. This was his original tower. This now holds up one end of a dipole, and he's got his wireless internet radio thing up there. He gets about 50 megabits up, internet. So it's a lot better than DSL, considering you're 30 miles outside of Fairbanks too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then he took me over to their ham club meeting. So it was over in Eric, this fellow here, KL7AJ. This is a big shop room off of his garage. And there was about 6 of us there in person. And then they had Zoom with about another 6 or 8 people from around the area. And we just went around, and there was no business meeting. So we just kind of chatted about what we've been doing and, the activities, what projects we're working on and what we've worked. And, because they have a lot of time to do stuff in the winter because it's
Yeah.
it's dark. It'd be still kind of dark about 9 in the morning and get dark about 5. But was interesting is that the day got longer. The daylight got longer by over 7 minutes a day.
Mm.
So
Interesting. Huh.
yeah,
What's the gentleman working, the blue shirt guy right in front of him? Is that a dolly, like a slider of some kind? What is that? Oh,
Thank you.
okay, never mind. What a segue.
Reading ahead, aren't we?
Yeah.
yeah. I'll slip you the dollar later.
Okay.
So anyway, on this end, he's got, I don't know, a high power oscillator or something coupled into it. And it feeds down these transmission lines.
Oh.
He's got this slider thing with these contacts and this meter, and he has a meter stick on here, and we'd move that back and forth. You could see it peak and dip, and if you measure between 2 peaks or 2 dips, you measure the length here and then figure out the frequency, and we probably got within 10% of what the oscillator was set for. It was around,
Wow.
yeah, it was around 80 megs. It was around 80 megs, and he's got the web camera here, so the Zoom people can see what's going on. So Eric is quite a guy, and just the stuff he has in his garage. And
Well, I
heard
saw
this-
guitar there in the
Oh,
background.
he's
Looks
got a
like he's a
whole
musician. And
he's got a whole great big music set up. I didn't get any pictures of that. He's got somebody's 7850 over here with a bad power supply, and he's going to try and see if he can get working and stuff like that. But this is
I
one
love that
area.
reel-to-reel tape machine on
Yeah.
that last slide. That's what I keep
Yeah.
riding on. Yeah, I've always wanted one of those. I had one when I was very small that didn't work, and I actually took 110 from pinky tip to pinky tip trying to pick it up without the case on it, and I didn't do that more than once.
No,
oops.
Does Eric go to Hamfest? I feel like I've met him.
he's probably goes to all sorts of things. So, there's probably a good.
It's a familiar
chance.
call for some reason.
Yeah. And
Probably on
yeah.
the air. I think I have him in my logs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's got a lot of gear here. He's got
Yeah, he
No
does.
joke.
an old he'd get HW, was that a 16 or whatever it is, novice with the VFO. Here's an SB 200 amp. And I don't know, that's an Eco scope or something. And there's a 10 Tech, kind of an up-to-date Yaesu, and looks like an older ICOM, and it looks like a Central Dynamics or Central
And he
Labs.
has Don's sign up there, National Sarcasm Society.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Yeah. Like we need your support.
Yeah. There's another view of it there. There you go. So they've been playing around with a lot of that slow scan on the FM repeaters there and stuff, and nets and 10 meters. So they've been having a lot of fun with the locals doing that. Here's another area, it's a couple tech scopes and a bunch of Heathkit things and just piles of stuff and just all sorts of, you name it, and you probably had it. This was
Yeah.
board with a QCX transceiver. Here's the transceiver board and a power switch and a bunch of AA batteries to run the thing. And he's been making contacts with that. So
What a workshop. Wow.
yeah.
Oh, look at that.
So then when we weren't chasing ham stuff, we'd go out to a field kind of on the northeast side of Fairbanks. I didn't want to drive out far in the dark. The roads there really aren't plowed. They're just packed down snow and ice, and you kind of drive the path and that type of thing. So, so this is what we saw. When you see it by eye, it's just a very faint wisp, but the iPhone cameras with the 3-second exposure really
That's great stuff. Yeah.
pulls that stuff out. I had my all sky camera here, but it was a full moon and there was too much local light and I was getting too much glare. So I didn't get anything worthwhile on that, but we caught some pretty spectacular.
Now, Randy, is this your first trip up there?
We went up a year ago
Okay.
and we saw a little bit of aurora one night. We were out 4 nights in a row. It was clear until about 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, until we had enough or were too cold to hang out any longer.
Wow.
We'd get in the
I've
car,
always wanted to go up there.
heat it up. We had the insulated boots. We had the hot pockets. My wife had a pair of battery powered, boot warmers, and she could hit the, remote control switch and warm up her toes. And
Do you have the pepperoni or the hot ham and cheese?
so
Minus 13. No thanks. I'll be in here with my coffee. Look
So-
at it out the window.
that was our winter vacation.
That's nice.
Oh, it looks fantastic. Well, you have a whole
Yeah.
video on it, right? So everybody be sure to go to Randy's YouTube
Yeah.
page and
That's a whole-
his channel.
It's a whole video on John's ham shack. Yeah.
That's cool.
Definitely go
That's
check
very
that out. All right. Well, Randy, thank you so much, and we really appreciate you coming back and catching us up. It's almost like you never left because you come back with a whole journey, an expedition.
I
that you go
know.
on every time.
And
It's
he
awesome.
didn't even talk about all the DX he's been putting in his vlogs.
All right.
Well, I've been doing that too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
bet. I know you did a great job last year with the little DX marathon, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
DX
Yeah,
Marathon.
DX Marathon. I ended up last year with 242 DX entities,
Wow.
and I
That's-
worked all
impressive.
40 SEQ zones, and then I was wavering whether or not I was going to get involved with it this year. Well, start on it January 1st. By January 7th, I had worked 100 DX entities, and now I'm up to 154, and I've worked 39 of the 40 CQ zones. So the ones
Wow.
I need are, the last one I
Wow.
need is like Egypt and a couple countries around there. So,
Wow.
Not bad at all. Nicely
Oh,
done.
speaking of DX, this
Yeah.
weekend is the DX contest phone. So
Oh, okay. Now that's gonna be a
and
big
Yeah.
what
one for
happens
sure.
for these big contests? The people get out and get their stations running. So we see a lot of FT8 people showing up
yeah,
too.
they're
So,
stretching their legs
Mhm.
right
Yeah.
now to make sure all of their antennas are working.
Mhm.
So now's a good time when they don't
Yeah.
have a pile up, but they're just kind of chilling
Yeah.
and testing. So get on there,
And-
everybody.
And speaking of Alaska, this is kind of coincidental. My wife, a guy at her work, gifted her this hat to give to me. It's White Pass, Skagway, Alaska.
Oh,
Hey.
So I have a new hat for my collection. So yeah, it's kind of cool. Kind of coincidental that you're talking about Alaska tonight.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, thanks everybody. Appreciate it. But it's time. I think we're gonna maybe ham
It's
it or can
time.
it. I
Ham
appreciate Randy coming on, but
it, or what
I
am
love
it?
this
here
segment.
we go. Here we go.
Okay,
I'm
let me find the right monitor.
Okay.
What I got going on?
Let's see.
Oh, this. Okay, this is my first one. I'm going to blow this up, but I took individual pictures of this too. Boosting my receiving capabilities, 24 gauge steel to mount to my job box on my truck. The people that decided to make trucks out of alloy in 2017
Oh.
can kiss my ass. I don't know
Yeah.
about this problem because I have a truck that's a 2014. But evidently, is this a thing, you guys,
A
where
lot of
you
the
need
Fords,
to?
they're aluminum. Yeah. A lot
Yeah.
of aluminum shelled trucks now.
Okay,
Mhm.
and so I don't know how you would still mount that on your truck. You didn't show it mounted on the truck. So a little bit disappointed in that, but it's
I
what
know a
you
guy
can
who put
do.
a big magnet on the inside of his truck,
Mhm.
and that helped
right.
the two stick together.
Sure.
There you go.
Okay. Well, so there you have it. There's an idea for you.
Listen, where there's a welder, there's a way.
There you go. This should have been in Gordo's antennas. This is a blow up antenna.
I have two
This is
versions of that.
This is inflatable.
Yeah.
That's neat.
Do you want to know what
Once-
the origin of that is?
Yes.
So there's a device called a safety noodle that scuba
Yep.
divers carry with them. And it was, I think it was the fishing company Shakespeare first. A couple other people took those and they started running wires up it. So it's an inflatable antenna. And there's some of them that have a CO2 cartridge in it that you can pull a cord on it and it it shoots the whole element out. I have one that's got a coil for 20 meters built into it.
Do you really?
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty
That's
cool.
neat.
This was a video, so I just took a screenshot of it. But it's in my husband's favorite color, chartreuse.
Yeah.
Have is yellow. I hate
Safety
that
yellow,
freaking
yeah.
color. I hate that color so bad. Okay. Oh, this is just cute because I
look at that.
composted this, and
Yeah.
whenever there's a kiddo in front of a radio just having fun, it's a fan. I have to show it off. So, and this is also a very cool like Go box. I love that box. Very nice. Don't know whose it is or where the scout is from, but credit from Ryan KI5MMJ NMJ. Okay.
Good stuff. Love that.
Speaking of, Randy
Ooh.
Yeah.
already like trumped me on this. So he had the cooler picture, but this was very pretty. And I like pretty and clean. And do you know how hard it is to get these kind of things pretty and clean? It's impossible because as
Yeah.
soon as you do, you make a change.
Well,
And
we
you
should
change
always
your
get a
antenna.
box twice the size of what
Yes.
you think.
Yep.
Because,
Right.
yeah, look at
Exactly.
the bend radiuses
And
and things. It just gets really tight.
We don't have a pretty one. But we have a bus bar that's attached to the porch on our house, and it's just not anything like this. And I would like clean and sleek like this. It would be nice. So this dude, he's tearing apart. This guy's got a whole operation going with his Heathkit amplifier. He's working on an SB303. Anyhow, I should have just followed his whole thing. But he just wanted to a friendly reminder to everybody when you tear open these kind of projects to look for these kind of loose screws. You see this where
Oh,
it nearly
yeah.
shorted
Of
out?
course, yeah.
Yeah. So it's just an expert tip there. When you open them up, tighten everything first or look for,
Yeah.
the dirty debris on your contacts before you ever do anything else or plug it in or.
I was going to say, unplug it before you start moving it around and start.
Oh,
Right.
well,
into
yeah,
the box.
totally expert. That's pro tip. That's number one safety tip. Just have it unplugged. In fact, one of my friends is like, cut the cord, man. Cut the cord. Fix it later so you know that you're not going to kill yourself because you will die.
Yes,
People
Yeah,
you
will.
will.
yeah, yeah.
You will
that's high,
die.
that's high voltage on those
Yes.
guys.
Okay. So, and this was just really cute.
The heck is that?
I don't even know, but this is from 1001 SWL. So he's obviously an SWLer and he posts a lot of different radios. But I was just like, this is so kooky. I would actually put it on my countertop because it's
Probably a
Looks like-
ferrite bar AM antenna in that
Yeah, that's what that
contraption on
looks
the
like.
top. Yeah. Mhm.
It looks like AI.
It does look
I
like
thought it was
AI.
fake
does a
too,
little,
but
yeah,
he
but-
posted a couple other versions that are not doesn't look like a TNT box, but it's cute. I
Kind of looks
thought
a
it
little
was funny.
steampunky too, a little bit, little kind
Yeah.
of modern steampunk.
Except for
yeah.
this is probably all plasticky.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
It is, yeah.
And there's no explanation, no link to anything, so you don't know where you can buy this. But
Oh, it's
Um,
Radioddity.
okay, and
Yeah. Yeah, everything is.
that's straight from Stranger Things. That
Yeah.
good call. That would fit into their props quite nicely. Okay, this was just really cool
Mhm.
for organization. If you're riding in a carpool with somebody to a ham fest, great setup here. So it's pretty cute.
It's clean.
Yes.
Very clean.
It's too clean for my car, so my dogs would probably just pick everything out of it. Especially like the sunglasses would never survive back there. There'd be nose prints everywhere. But
Well, you go
anyhow.
reaching back and you end up careening into two lanes trying to
Exactly,
grab
there's-
sunglasses
yeah.
from the back. I probably wouldn't put the
Yeah.
glasses there.
Well, see, officer, it was like this.
Yeah, see, I had my open beer on the right side. I was trying to
Yeah.
grab
Yeah,
that,
right.
and I was realized
Yeah,
it was
when I was
hot out.
reaching
I
for my
needed
beer.
I needed my
Right.
sunglasses.
It's not within reach. You ever tried to reach behind your seat,
That's
officer?
impossible.
You can't reach that.
It's impossible.
What are you
officer.
talking about?
This is okay.
Uh-oh.
Somebody is selling these, but I think it's ugly as sin. Sorry. I think your window mount is ugly. It just is.
Yeah. a little odd.
I'm intrigued though because like Teslas and stuff, they're not. There's really no place to mount an antenna, and at least
Sure.
you see that braided line, guys.
Yeah, it's really
That's-
thin.
At least that. Well, I mean, some of these you've seen those window pass-through ones where it's just the coax is on the inside of the window and they throw the antenna on the outside.
Yeah.
At least this is a bit improved on that.
Yeah.
I suppose my nightmare is like if you parked in a garage and you're just like walking by to take your trash out or something, you're going to catch on that and you're going to be pissed off.
And you
So,
Yeah.
break you
anyhow.
get to break your window in addition to smashing your antenna.
That was when we had a motorhome. That I had one of those through glass antennas up on the top of the little bed over the cab in the van body on the motorhome. I
Yeah.
had one of those through the glass antennas on
How
it,
about-
just so I could get some signal out on my dual band radio.
I'm just going to say this. I feel really bad for people that have to mount their antennas this way. I'm sorry. I like
Sure.
my
But hey, you know what? If
NMO
it gets you on
mounts.
the air, it gets you on the air, right?
You know what's funny about that is look at that
Exactly. I'm
roof.
not bashing you for having to do this because I believe that there's probably plenty of spouses that this is the only way you can have an antenna on the car. So
Right.
But
Right.
note the
lips
roof.
are sealed on that. I just
Look
thought
at
it was
the roof
ugly.
bar. They got a roof
Okay.
bar
Oh,
they can
this
mount
is
to.
for you, Don, because I designed this card and this guy was really happy because he's a huge cigar aficionado.
Oh,
so,
nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's good friends with Skeeter. So I just
Uh-huh.
thought
Ah.
I'd show this off. That one
Cool.
of my QSL
Damn it.
card designs
I
to
like
make it
him
look like
already.
a cigar wrapper.
I like it. Yeah, it looks good. It does.
What
look
else
like a
do I
band. Yeah.
Yeah. And this is just my AI pictures. I asked Grok to generate a cartoon image of what you think amateur radio looks like. This is weird and not very
Weird.
accurate.
Can you
Grok
hear me,
work on
Amanda?
it.
Uh-oh. Did I lose
Double
my...
fisting the microphone on one, and it just didn't look much like amateur radio to me. But
Hey.
anyhow,
You can't hear... Hello? Can you hear me? Uh-oh. Uh-oh, guys. Did I lose everybody? Am I still here? I was wondering what was happening. Hold on. Can you hear me, guys? Am I still here? Lost. Uh-oh. Okay. Hold on. We can hear you on Twitch. Something happened. Uh-oh. Am I back? I lost the host. I lost everything. Everything else is frozen. What happened? Oh, the whole thing just died. Was that Restream? It says that it's gone. That is really weird. Whoa. Oh, and Skype just dropped. Hold on. Let me see if I can call him back.
yes or no's.
Oh, hold on. I just dropped. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, like we got motion back again
That's
too on
weird.
you.
And I think I might have lost the
Oh, and there's
YouTube
two of me.
live. I don't know if I still got YouTube.
Yeah, it's up now. Yeah.
Oh, wait.
See that.
I'm still live, and now everybody else is there. Hold on.
Mhm.
Some people are. Oh, okay. You never
Yeah.
left. I never left. You're back. So okay, we had a problem with Skype, I guess, because I was commenting and then I realized Amanda wasn't
Shocker.
replying to
Imagine
me.
that.
Let's see.
And did it freeze again?
No,
Yeah.
I'm
Josh is. He's
Oh,
Sure did.
there-
Yeah. No motion. I can't even hear him now.
wow. Okay.
The whole thing is just
That's
shot.
what in the chat room. That's what happens when you call a window mount ugly. It's my bad, Ron.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Microsoft said thought you were calling Windows ugly and just shut down Skype. I'll show you, lady.
I don't know if we
Are we
Josh,
getting out
this
on the stream?
chat room, talk to us. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
I keep getting this stupid welcome to Skype pop-up window that keeps popping up on me.
Somebody says the AI was the last thing. Glad, am I right? I don't think that we're not there.
They're not hearing
No.
us. No, we're not.
I don't know if maybe we should just hang up and let Josh get a closing on the show by
Wait,
calling us
We're
back
back.
up.
We're back. Hold on.
Is
Hold on.
probably what we should do.
No, don't hang up. 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 Hold on. I'll text her. Don't hang up. Let's see. Let's see. Can we get back in? Don't hang up. Don't hang up. Don't hang up. Don't hang up. Uh-oh. I lost them all, guys. I'm trying to join back in. Oh, maybe? 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 We'll see. It shows that they're in the chat. That's crazy. I've never had a failure like that before. That's wild. Uh-oh. Your connection is too weak. I wonder if the kids are screwing around with the internet. Fortnite taken out. Oh, they dropped. Okay. Yeah, join call. Add people. Let me see if I can just get them back really fast and we'll do a wrap up. No, it's not gonna work, guys. Oh no! All right, I think we're losing fast. We're dying fast, guys. That's it. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again in 2 weeks. I don't know what's going on, but 73. Everyone is here. We hear you. Yes, we hear you on YouTube. Hearing you. Okay, never mind. Yeah, it's up and down. It's up and down. I don't know what's going on. I lost my restream side of the house. So 73, guys. I'll see you later. Hopefully this all catches itself up, and we'll see you in 2 weeks. Okay, go make sure you get on the ICOM America swag pack giveaway. 73.